Hey everyone, it's Matt Krevin, founder of Talk Shop. Excited to bring another segment as part of my interview series. Today I'm joined by Jennifer Garrett. And before I bring Jennifer on to say hello, which I know she's anxious to do, I just want to share with people the interviews that I actually do are really just to give some valuable insight to not just for me, but bring on my guests, have them share their insight to you, the high school student and college student. And if anyone's interested to learn more about the programs that I deliver virtually at this point, you'll see the information on the screen later on. Please feel free to reach out if you'd like to explore. I welcome and encourage any conversation. Commercial aside, Jennifer Garrett is joining me. Happy to have you, Jennifer. So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me on, Matt. I'm excited to chat today.
Yeah, Jennifer, with someone that's, with your background, which is so unique, so interesting, and I say that in the most positive, sincere way, why don't I do this? Would you mind introducing yourself in terms of what you currently do and who you do it with?
Sure, absolutely. So I'll just take a quick minute just to share my background and then
Please.
what I'm doing now. So I spent 20 years in the Fortune 50 big organization space. I have 7 degrees, did a lot of different things, engineering, sales, marketing, business development, climbed the corporate ladder, worked in executive level positions, and I left that recently to be an entrepreneur focused on my brand, which is called Move the Ball, which takes the athlete mentality and shows people how they can connect that to leadership, to being successful beyond the sports context. And so I work with individuals who are looking at advancing their career and growing in the corporate setting. I also work with folks that are looking to be entrepreneurs and kind of do some business consulting with them to help them grow their business. And then lastly, I work with professional and collegiate athletes on how to quote unquote move the ball and perform better on the field, but also to help them be successful beyond the game.
That is a lot, and there is so much I could unpack right there, but I'm not going to be able to get to it all. And as you know, we talked just a little bit before we went live here that what I do at Talk Shop is specifically geared for the high school and college students. So we can focus maybe on the college student. I used to work in terms of a career coach with college student athletes, so there's a lot of synergy there. What I wanted to do is the first question right out of the chute. You don't strike me as someone that's horribly shy, and I say that jokingly.
No.
Was there a one moment in time where you realized for yourself personally that the ability to communicate effectively to a wide variety of different people and at different settings was an important skill to kind of work on? Was there some moment in time that popped for you?
I wouldn't say there was a moment, but I think early in my career when I was just out of college and in the real working world, being able to work with tech, I was an engineer, so working with technical people, but also working with business people. I did a lot of my first job out of college. I worked for the Department of the Navy on defense programs. And so I was in DC a lot doing presentations to senior level military officials and government employees. So that really forced me to learn how to communicate with different groups. What is your audience looking to get out of your presentation or any interaction you have with them? So understanding, who the other person is, what their perspectives are, what the goal of that conversation is, and making sure that I communicated whatever my desired messages were in an effective manner to that group.
I want to pick right up on that because that is, to me, immediately transferable to what I do in terms of the one-on-one career coaching and the group workshops is telling people just that. I frame it a little bit differently. I try to have a little fun. But look, there's 3 laws of comedy: know your audience, timing, and delivery, which in essence is really kind of what you said. You were in some high-powered, boardrooms, if you will. You've got to know who those people are, what it is that you personally are looking to get out of that meeting, what's your agenda. And I imagine there's some listening involved in there. What advice, if you will, could you give and how to do it, if you will, with teaching today's college students to be clear, to be concise, and to be confident, which is not easy just to do right out of the chute?
Yes. So it depends on what it is you're looking to get out of the relationship with the person that you're communicating with. But it really comes down to what is your goal in messaging with them? Are you looking to network? Are you looking for a job? And really thinking through before you have that conversation or before you send that email or that message, what is it that I want to get from that conversation, and how do I want to present myself in a way that is professional? I get a number of younger folks reaching out and they use slang, it's not complete sentences, and I understand what they're asking, but you have to keep in mind, like, what kind of image am I portraying of myself to the other person. Because if you want someone to respond to you, you want to come across in a professional manner, so that way people feel like they're dealing with professionals, not just some random young, high school kid or college kid that's just reaching out that really doesn't have a clue on what they're doing and they're not communicating in a professional manner.
Yeah, I love that. That's so in step with being clear in your the way you communicate in writing, because that's going to be your door opener in a lot of cases, especially in today's digital world, right? We all live on screens and devices, and trying to get someone's attention and rise up above the noise and differentiate yourselves. I always say, look, the one key differentiator is yourself. Put out your brand, but you've got to articulate who you are, not only positively, but with some impact. So that being said, just on the networking piece, you just mentioned it. You said, look, you've got a lot of college age students reaching out to you using slang and maybe not using full sentences. I don't want to say it's not coherent. I don't think that's what you said, but
Right.
But a big piece of what I do at Talk Shop is also teach them, look, they are their own brand, and they may not recognize that right at this point. What tips can you say, look, to tighten up the way you communicate? You've got it goes back to knowing who you're reaching out to. What have you seen that's worked? Meaning, what catches your eye? And you almost just mentioned it, but what, I don't want to say makes you dismiss someone, but what would be some things that would make you take pause also? So kind of a positive and a realistic approach on when someone reaches out to you to network, what catches your eye, what doesn't?
Sure, you can, while email communications or messaging on social media, you can't always pick up tone. Sometimes you can pick up if someone is more enthusiastic just in the words they choose. I'll tell you what I don't like first, because that's easier. If you write a super long message, that's going to turn a lot of people off, because people are busy. So you want to be respectful of their time. So get straight to the point, brief introduction, who you are, why you're looking to connect, and then they can decide if it's for them or not. There's a lot of people that love to help junior folks in their career and give advice and share, but you have to reach out to them in a manner that is respectful of their time too. So that's one, make sure that it's a brief few sentence message is helpful. And then also think through, again, if you were the other person that you're reaching out to, when they read that message, is that message interesting and captivating to them that they would want to? So in other words, if someone were to send that same message to you, would you be interested in responding? So I think just by doing that double check, that reread of the message before you hit that send button, you'll see whether or not, yes, this makes sense, or, oh, you know what, let me make sure I reword this because I didn't like that, or there's grammar errors. And people make mistakes. We have spelling mistakes or grammar, and if you have one in the message, fine. But if it's riddled with just poor English spelling, that's not portraying a really good image of you, and so someone's going to be less likely to want to give their time to you.
All I'm going to do on that one is nod and agree. Absolutely spot on in my mind's eye. That's just so important, and I can't resist. I have to just add, yes, a quick piece that I always suggest to others is, especially in today's texting, Snapchat, social media world, that it becomes more crisis prevention at this point. After you send something or do something, if you want to send an email, go ahead and draft it, step away, come back at it 3-5 minutes later, reread it. It just tends to help. So I agree with all of that. What have you seen, or what areas in today's college students, the ones that are reaching out to you, maybe they get the chance to meet with you, well, maybe not face to face right now, but pre-COVID, that catch your attention when they're actually with you face to face? Yeah, there's going to be some nerves if it's a real full-fledged interview. That's understandable. How would you guide someone if it's just the first time that someone is meeting with you?
Yeah, I would say that prior to meeting with me or with anybody, write down some questions. Don't go into the conversation without a plan of, what do you want to know from them? How can they help you? Don't just be like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Like that's not fun for the other person. It's like, I'm giving you my time. So come prepared for the conversation. Talk about who you are, share what you want to share. And then if you have a few specific questions, or it's okay to make an ask too, like, hey, I'd love to, know somebody that I see you're connected to, a certain person. Would you mind connecting me? But just know what it is you want to say and what do you want to get out of that conversation. The other thing is you want to be very mindful of the time that person is allowing. So if it's a 15-minute, a half-hour call, like respect that time. If you have a great conversation and it looks like you're coming to the end of the time, you can always say, hey, do we have a few more minutes, or could we set up another call? You just want to show that you're being respectful and you're honoring that they're giving their time to you. So you don't want to take too much of it because they may have other things going on.
Completely agree on all that. This isn't about trying to find an argument with you. It's just I'm in complete agreement. Where do you personally draw the line, Jennifer, between someone that's being persistent and or putting it mildly, maybe being a pest as it relates to someone's reaching out to you, phone calls, too many emails? It's a real fine line there for today's college students to try to get on someone's radar. What's your
Right.
personal take?
Yeah, I would say if you don't get a response after the first reach out, don't get discouraged. Sometimes people get busy. And so it's not like they intended to blow you off. They just they thought about it, like, oh, I'll come back to it, got busy. So it's fair to reach out again. I wouldn't reach out like the next day. Give it a few days or even a week, right? And then you could try a third time, but after that, if they haven't responded, they're probably not good, or they're just too busy. I mean, you could try again 3 months from now, right? And say, hey, I reached out before, didn't hear back. If the timing is right and you have time to chat, I'd love to connect now. So there is a fine line between being, pesty and being persistent. But I would think if you reach out a couple times, spread it out. Don't do it, one day I sent the first message, day two I send the next one. Don't do that. So wait at least a few days, but it's okay to follow up. And people do appreciate that, because sometimes people, they really mean to get back to you and then just something happened. And so when they get that second note, then it's like, oh yeah, I want to get back to you. What you shouldn't do is don't say, I haven't heard from you, right? Or you haven't responded. What you can say is, hi, Miss Garrett, I sent you a note a couple of days ago. I would really love to connect. And then insert something that tells them why. What is it about them that you really want to connect? People love that. Like, they want to know, why are you reaching out? Especially in today's day when there's so many people that are spamming and trying to sell things. People are very cautious about who they respond to and who they give their time to. So if you let them know the reason that you're reaching out, that will help give them an idea of whether or not they should make time to have a call.
Amongst your 7 degrees, I think you're almost clairvoyant as well, because you read my mind on my next question. It's all of a two-part question. You kind of answered it, but I got to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Look, everyone's trying to, as you just kind of mentioned, try to separate themselves, create some unique differentiator. What is it about me that's going to catch your attention? As you said, hey, you're reaching out to me, Miss Garrett, I'm looking to do X, Y, and Z. What have you seen, maybe within the last year, if you'd like to just use that time frame,
Sure.
as an approach that's been maybe creative, that's caught your attention? And not to look at it negatively, that's the first part, but maybe something that someone did that, was just a little too cute or a little too overproduced. I'm not sure what the right words are, that just kind of didn't register with you. Would you mind sharing one example of each of those just to give college students some ideas?
Sure. Yeah. So you got to be creative in today's day to, set yourself apart from everybody else. It's trying to do the same thing, right? Reach out to people. And so one thing that I like, so I post on LinkedIn, I post on Instagram, not so much Twitter, but Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. People will start commenting on posts that I post. And so we start engaging that way. And then someone will reach out and say, hey, I've enjoyed our engagement. I'd love to set up time to chat and talk about whatever it is. And that way you already know that they're not trying to sell you, because they're taking the time to engage and actually have meaningful conversations. So that's one way to do it. If you want to try to get on someone's radar, to maybe you send a message and you haven't heard back, start engaging in their content. And then maybe that'll be another way for them. And when I say engaging, again, same rules apply. Don't use slang, right? Have value added comments, or you can even say in the comment, hey, I love your work. I'd love to have a call. I'm going to send you a message. So that's another way to get on the radar, because these people may also be getting a ton of messages. So if you do a comment, then they may be like, okay, I'm going to go look for that person's note because they've taken the time to comment on something. So that's a creative way. I guess on the flip side, what doesn't work is if people just randomly tag you with a bunch of people, you don't know why they're tagging you. That's kind of a turnoff, because it's like, are you tagging me just so you can get more visibility on your posts? You want to have a relationship? So you can tag people to get their attention too, but let them know why you're tagging them versus just playing the tagging game to drive your post views up.
And I appreciate that. The spirit was not a negative approach, just to, hey, some things that maybe you could rethink, and that's so I appreciate that. Last question that I typically like to ask is, if someone's got a chance today, if they're Zooming with you, I've just made up a new verb right there, Zooming with someone, I'm sure that's used, but they're face to face, they're on the screen with you. What is it that inspires you as it relates to a job applicant at this point? They've actually, gotten past the networking stage, if you will, but now
Sure.
they're in and they're meeting with you. It's either a meeting or it's an interview. What inspires you? I'll just leave it at that. What inspires
Okay.
you?
The energy that they bring into the conversation. It's good because when you're interviewing someone, it's not just about, can you do the job? We're evaluating, are you the right fit culturally? Does your style match, the other people in the workplace? And so I like to look for people that have great energy, that tend to be positive, smile, make good eye contact, are good communicators. So when you ask them a question, they're answering the question back and usually using a specific example of how they demonstrated a specific skill set too. So those are all things that I look for when doing interviews with people. And the nonverbals too, you can pick up, are you presenting confidence, in who you are? You have to be able to sell yourself as to why you deserve that job. And so having that confidence, having that clear thinking, speaking well. And how do you do that? Because we get nervous during interviews, right? We're human beings. It's practice. Pick your parents, say, hey, let's do a mock interview, or your buddy or your counselor or somebody that can give you some good feedback. And the more that you do it, the better you get at it.
Great insight. There's been so much content here, valuable advice and guidance that I know college students can implement into their day-to-day lives right away. Let me wrap up with this. Is there anything, Jennifer, that you would like to let people be aware of? Maybe it's a blog, maybe it's your website, maybe it's a LinkedIn, whatever it is that you would like to promote, if you will. Maybe there's nothing, but I want to at least give you the opportunity. If there's something that you'd like to highlight, that's how I like to wrap things up.
Absolutely. So I have a podcast. It's called Move the Ball. And the focus of it is conversations with professional athletes and successful business leaders on how to put the right strategies, habits, life skills into place to be successful in every area of your life, not just in the career context. So we would love to have you check it out. It's on all the podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify. And then if you go to movetheballpodcast.com, it's my website. You can also check out the episodes there.
Perfect. And as I do that, I'm going to let people know, if you found value in this interview, which I can't imagine how you couldn't, there was a lot of it. My website is right there. Anyone would like to learn more about the TalkShop platform, the programs that I deliver live to both high school students and college students, or the one-on-one career coaching, please feel free to reach out. And if you found useful information, hey, why not share? I encourage you to share the video as well. So Jennifer, Garrett, I appreciate you taking some time and sharing wonderful insight that I know students can put into place. And we'll look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you so much. It was great being here with you.